back to my channel. I'm Deanna and you're watching Orchid, and I've got a big day of repotting ahead of me and I wanted to make some repotting videos. Now, I would much prefer to do some separate repotting videos, but to do this process efficiently, I can't make videos plant by plant. So I am going to be unpotting a whole lot at once, cleaning up root systems, and I've just got my own little system of doing things, but I'll try and edit stuff because I want to make separate videos for how I repot the phals, say compared to my Oncidiums. I'll get started. I don't want to tell you too much about each plant because I'm going to separate out the videos and re-edit them anyway. I've sterilised all my equipment. I have some pruners and secateurs and use some tweezers and my little dental pick thing, some gloves, got my little flame, but I also alcohol and clean up all those tools. They're already clean. As I've mentioned previously, I clean after each plant, but for the sake of a mass repotting, it's always good to just be careful and sterilise your tools before as well. So that's what I've got out at the moment. I've got hydrogen peroxide back there as well because I know I've got snails. This one with the spike, I found some snails on it. So yeah, let's just start. Okay, everyone, well, I've decided to start with my Oncidiums because they look the most painful and I'd like to get them out of the way. And well, they're probably the ones that are most at risk just because I have seen snails and I know a couple of them definitely have had snail attacks. But anyway, I'll show you the 3 Oncidiums that I'll be unpotting first. Here is that Wilsonara Tan Treasures Puppy Pleasure, and it just came the other day. I would have shown you the unboxing video. It's got a wonderful little flower spike on there, but I discovered a couple of nasty scales, so I've already sprayed it. Who knows what damage has been done to that flower spike already. When I got the plant, I was tossing and turning whether I should repot it because it's got a spike, but the snails have made my decision all the more easier. This is probably not a very good time to repot in terms of saving the flower spike, but I don't really care because I don't really want snails in my collection. So this is the first one. All right, this is the second one, and I got it from an orchid show a few months ago. I've lost the tag, but it is Banfieldara Gilded Tower Mystic Maze. Anyway, you can see it's got a comprehensive root system. I anticipate that this one might be the most difficult to sort through, but usually when the root system is like this, also it means that the plant is pretty vigorous in terms of growing new roots, so they're usually pretty forgiving. It's got 2 new growths starting from a previous back bulb. The newest growth has no new growths that I can see, which is odd. To me, that seems odd, but yeah, it was flowering, and yeah, so that's the second one. And the third one is one that I've had for a while. It hasn't been doing amazing for a little while, and I do believe that there are snails in there. Plus, I think I've shown you, I'll link you to a video anyway of this plant when it came back, but yeah, you can sort of see in there that those roots look munched on. It's completely lost its vigor, it's stressed, it had bugs on it when it came back, like mealy bugs and stuff, and that's not the fault of my orchid babysitter. I forget who it was, but not their fault at all. It is a stressed plant, and it just, yeah, isn't resistant. It didn't develop its last bulbs properly, so it's been stressed for a little while. I will walk you through a little bit about what I do for the beginners in terms of sorting out the roots, what I'm going to cut off, what I'm going to clean up, but then I am going to speed up through the rest of the process because obviously it takes a while, and you know, we'll go through this one. So I'll show you the unpotting of this Banfieldara and what's inside this pot, and I'll show you what's left of the root systems of the other ones and if there's anything interesting to see. Okay, so let's start and get this one out of the pot. They've all been watered so that does make it easier to get them out of the pot. But this guy is completely root bound. If they've got roots coming out the bottom, it is always more difficult, and I can feel that these ones are dead, so I'm actually just going to rip them off because it's going to stop the plant from coming out of the pot. Okay, so squeeze, 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 and carefully from the base of the plant try and just wriggle this out. And alright, gotcha. Wow guys, can you see this? So that's the root system on this one. You can see the ones that were above the pot, they're not in the medium. They are brown and they're generally very soft, but these white roots, I'm feeling them and they feel firm. Oncidium roots can be really, really fine and quite difficult to sort through. Even if they look white and they appear okay, you really got to sort of feel them and give them a little bit of a tug just to see if they're still alive or not. If they're not alive, they'll be soft to the touch, and if you give them a little bit of a pull, you'll find that the outer coating comes off really easily and you're left with this little string inside. This is the root. Okay, so this is the active root. The velamen is this outer coating and it surrounds orchid roots, which when alive should be firm. Not necessarily white in all plants, but in Oncidiums generally they do tend to be white, but check them because even the brown ones can still be firm and alive. So what I'm going to do now is gently tease out the medium that's inside. Now that's going to be quite difficult because you can see that this is a really solid sort of root mass, and getting through this gently is going to be a little bit of a task. I'm almost certainly going to break some good roots, and I may not be able to cut off all the dead roots, but as long as I clean up as much as I can, get as much of the old media out as I can, because I can already feel that it is very, very broken down. I'm not sure if you can see that, but that is just like, I don't know if that was once bark, but it is just basically dirt now. So yeah, it has to come out, and I tease things out, I give them a rinse, and then I sort through the roots. You're gonna find that the roots attached to the older bulbs are the ones that are going to be more likely to be dead and dark brown and mushy. And also the ones right in the center are more likely to have been a little bit suffocated. To be fair, I'm feeling these roots, and even the ones in the center are actually really quite good. Yeah, so it's a really, really good root system, and I'm pretty impressed. When you're holding the plant, be really careful. Don't hold it from the new growths. Don't hold it from the leaves. Hold it in a pretty controlled fashion from the base of the pseudobulbs if you can. The last thing you want to do, especially if you have really small growths, is to knock them off. So just be cognizant of where your fingers are, but don't feel too bad either, because we've actually all done it. We've all knocked off new growths. You repot enough and yeah, it just happens. So, all right, let's have a look over here at some of these roots. Okay, so you can see this one, it does look white, okay, but if you give it a little bit of a pull, you can see that it sort of comes away, and that's what happens. They come away quite easily if they're dead. And see, that part looks white, it's actually really soft to the touch, and you can peel away that velamen and you can see the white root in the middle. Now, it's impossible to feel every single root, but you get an idea. If there are sections that aren't feeling too great, that are dead, you might want to just cut that sort of section of roots off at the base, but a lot of these are really good. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to work through this, and I'm going to give it a really good rinse actually, because I think that might help to get a lot of this media out. I slowly, with these, just start to chop off the dead roots. And I know the ones at the top are dead, so basically it's just a matter of getting to the base of the root and cutting it and trying your very best not to damage many of the good roots. Luckily, most of the good roots are at the front, most of the bad roots are at the back, so if I come in from this direction, then I'm likely to minimize the harm that I do. Okay, so this is what's left. Root system's all cleaned up, it's all washed off, and there's lots of healthy roots left. So I tend to take out more than just the dead roots, but also the ones that are looking a little bit unhealthy or old or very young. But that's just what I do. So yeah, I'm going to spray this now with some hydrogen peroxide all through the root system, all into the base. I didn't find any pests on this plant, so I'm pretty happy. We'll let that fizzle away and I'll move on to the next plants. And I'm going to skip through this process for you, but I'll show you when all the plants are unpotted and what the root systems look like. Alright, well, let's start with the worst one. Wilsonara Eye Candy Pinky. So I split her. I've thrown away the other part. It was quite weak. There were really no salvageable roots. At least this one's got some short roots there. And it actually got the treatment with the bleach and the fungicide. Wilsonara Tan Treasures Puppy Pleasure. I didn't see any active snails on it, but definitely has some snail damage. And yeah, those little suckers, I've never had problems with snails, but after seeing the damage that I know snail damage has done to that one and this one, and the roots that were in there, they're nasty. They're really nasty. So yeah, I do not want them in my collection. Hopefully they will bring out some new growths and new roots and start afresh. I didn't break the flower spike on that, which is really good because yeah, I wouldn't put it past me. I am a bit of a klutz. And this one is the Banfieldara with the awesome root system and beautiful healthy bulbs there, and again, I didn't break the two new growths. But yeah, that's those guys, and so let's pot them up. Okay guys, so let's pot up our Banfieldara Mystic Maze together. What have I got here? I've got a selection of 2 pots. Now, I'm in a bit of a pickle. So you can see the size of the latest bulb, and it's got 2 new growths. And if those 2 growths are going to be anywhere near this size, then it's going to take up a lot more space, and then presumably each of those 2 growths will have at least 1 new growth coming up in the following cycle. So this root mass and this plant fits just fine in this 12 centimeter pot, okay? Can you see how much room is left there? It's a bit hard to show. Let me put it on its side. It seems like enough, but once those growths mature, I can almost guarantee they will take up most of the pot, and there will not be enough room once those roots develop for another set. I'm fairly confident that this plant's going to do well and develop a good sturdy root system, so I'm going to go one bigger. Can you imagine if both of these growths actually grew 2 new growths each in the next cycle? It will completely fill this pot. So that's why I'm going with the bigger one. I've got some leca beads here, which I'm going to line this pot with. I like to use them because it helps to increase the drainage when I water my plants. And I've got a mix here. So for all my plants, I pretty much use a premix. There's only a few exceptions, like the Oncidiums, but I use a premix of bark, charcoal, and perlite. The brand that I really like has a small or medium size. I use about a 50-50 of small and medium mix, and I put in a little bit of lacquer beads for more aeration, and I mix about 50% of sphagnum moss in for my Oncidiums. So, put a bit of bark down the bottom here on the pot, and I'm actually going to, because this actually has a decent root mass, put a little bit of a medium in the center of the plant. I'm not going to use much in the way of moss here, mostly just bark. Put it into the center of the root ball and then pop the plant in. So, this is a funny plant because it's got the latest growth here, but the two new growths are coming off the last pseudobulb. So there's still plenty of potential for a new growth to come out of the latest pseudobulb, as well as potential to grow obviously in the direction that it's choosing to grow now. I'm going to give it a little bit of a twist in the pot so it's sitting at a nice level, and then I'm going to try and give it space all around that larger pseudobulb as well as these new growths, and let the plant decide what it wants to do. I guess it's a little bit confused, I would say, but we are just going to fill the pot. So what I will say is I do tend to put less moss towards the back of the plant, and a little trick is if you lean the back of the plant, so what you want to rest against the back of the pot, forward a little bit, fill up with some bark, push it down, and then lean your plant back, you're less likely to get like big air gaps. So just have a good feel. You are definitely better off pushing your thumbs in a little bit, and I've got little fingers, so I often just have a feel, make sure there's no obvious like massive air gaps between the roots, and I fill them. You're better off, because you'll lose those roots, like 100% you will lose the roots if they've got massive air gaps in them. Alright, so I think we're doing okay there. I've got space on the side for these two growths. If new growths want to come out of the latest bulb, that's fine. I do a little test if it's got a good root system of how secure it is in the pot just by lifting the plant up, and it is really secure in this pot. So the Oncidium's done. Usually the stuff's a little bit dusty, so I rinse it through and then give it a good soak for about an hour in RO water and some Super Thrive, and yeah, that's it. So this Oncidium's all done. Alright guys, well it's a few days later, and I just wanted to show you the plants now that they've been repotted. I've put them in their new homes for winter, and I am wintering some of my Oncidiums inside in this upstairs grow space now, which I wasn't really using until last winter, and I'd kept all my Oncidiums outside and they did okay, but I figure at least the weaker ones should be protected inside. It's been quite a cool week with temperatures dropping below 10 degrees Celsius at night, which is really about as cold as it gets around here, so we're pretty much in the peak of winter. So let's have a look at the Oncidiums that I repotted. I think it's been about 3 days now. I've just finished a 24-hour on-call shift, and I'm on about 3 hours sleep, and I worked about 19 hours, 20 hours straight, so I am not coherent. I'm really sorry. So my words will struggle, but let's look at these guys in their new homes. So this one is, I'm really sorry, I can't remember names or anything at the moment, so I'm just going to have to show you the tags. Wilsonara Tan Treasures. This is the one with the spike, and look, the spike seems to be intact and not dead or dying back. I think it's still okay and growing, so that's good. And this little one's staked up, but it was pretty secure in the pot, so well, fingers crossed. It's in a small pot. It'll, if it goes well and grows its next new growth well, that'll probably fill the pot, so I'll probably need to pot it up after its next cycle, but hopefully it just gets established in that pot. This is the other little one we repotted. Hi Frankie. Hello. Sorry, puppies make me happy after on calls. And yes, it is the 20th now, so actually yes, 3 days ago we repotted this one, and didn't have too many roots, so we'll just see how it goes. It may stall that second growth as well and push on after that, but hopefully it's a little bit happier now. We've got one more over here, I believe. This one, Banfieldara Gilded Tower Mystic Maze, and those are the two new growths there, facing towards the window, towards the light, and it got potted in that bigger pot, I remember now. And yeah, it seems fairly okay. It's nice and stable in that pot, so that's good. Alright guys, I might just leave it there, but I really hope you got something out of this repotting and enjoyed it. Let's follow these plants, see how they go, especially up here, because I've not really kept my oncidiums up here during winter before. They've always just endured the cold outside. So yeah guys, please give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more orchid videos. I hope you guys have a great week. I'm going to just curl up and watch some Netflix on the couch today, so happy growing until I see you next time. Bye.